of HMF Live. This is our monthly episode regarding relationships, which is why Gary's here. So as I mentioned earlier,
I like the delay. Sorry.
As I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about emotional affairs tonight. So what are they? What are some warning signs or danger signs? And then some tips on how you can maybe get past it or out of one or stop one before it goes too far, and how to start, bridging the gap in your relationship with your spouse or partner. So just for the purposes of this video, just so you know, I'm going to probably say spouse like a lot. Just go ahead and insert partner, significant other. We're married. That's why we speak in marital terms. So if you're maybe not married, that's okay. But I'm going to say spouse a lot. Just insert whatever title for your relationship. So this one hits pretty close to home. Well, actually hits right at home because this is something that we have gone through ourselves. And so first of all, what is an emotional affair? This was something that I didn't know there was a term for it until actually my own therapist called it an emotional affair. So basically an emotional affair is when you grow an attachment to somebody who is not your spouse or significant other, and more so than just being friends, like you have an emotional attachment to your friends. But this is starting to venture into the like romantic emotional attachment. And so, if you're single, growing an emotional attachment, not a big deal. But if you
think about them pure thoughts. No, I'm kidding.
But if you are in a committed relationship, then having an emotional attachment to someone else who is not your partner, not so good. It means there's trouble on the home front. So that's essentially what it is. And we're going to talk a little bit more, probably define it a little better through sharing our own story. So do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
No, okay.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
I guess at the beginning.
How ideal.
Right. We can go backwards if you'd like.
Sure. So, okay. So our story, we actually went through an emotional affair within our own marriage, and it was actually me who had the emotional affair. And like I said, I didn't know there was a name for it until June, I think, when I first started having my own therapy sessions. And
this happened a few years back.
Yeah, I was getting there. So the actual, the actual affair itself was probably 2012, maybe like overlapped 2012, 2013. And it was with, somebody that I worked with at the time. I no longer work with them because I don't work at the same place anymore. And also we're going to not use names.
We're going to call him Jack.
And so anyway, this happened a few years back. And, at the time, Gary and I were in a really bad spot in our own marriage. And I'll be honest, this was not anything that I was looking for. I mean, like at all. This person, Jack. It
absolutely, it's funny because this is the only kind of affair that can actually happen accidentally.
Right.
This is it. There is no other affair that you can have. Physical, no, that's not, I didn't slip and fall on top of her, whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, so go ahead.
So anyway, somebody I worked with wasn't looking for it all. Gary and I were in a really bad spot.
The bad spot, we can go a little deeper into that.
Okay.
It was our work. She worked a lot. I worked a lot. And my job took away from like our time, like completely. And not only that, but I was so exhausted that like, even the days that I wasn't doing it, all I was doing was sleeping.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was beating myself down. Actually, I was working too hard.
Yeah. And so that compounded. So we were basically like opposite schedules in terms of working. But that was compounded on top of some stuff that had already happened within our marriage. And I think we've shared this before, back about 7 years ago now, Gary had a really bad narcotic addiction, and that like really did a lot of damage to our relationship back then. So in 2012 and 13, I'm still kind of reeling from some stuff that happened in 2010 and 11. And then that compiled with never seeing him or spending time with him. I apparently grew an emotional need that wasn't being met at home and didn't know it. And so just by nature, we tend to confide in people. And so the person that Jack, I keep calling him Jack, he was actually going through some, not the same type of issues, but he was going through a divorce.
Right. It was like the literal perfect storm.
Yeah.
Like it could not have been any more of a perfect situation. I'm serious. If I had not have, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to blow my horn, but if I had not acted the way I did when I did, we wouldn't be together. I mean, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I'm going to blow my own horn. Hey, I saved our marriage at that point.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
That was the turning point.
Right. And I'll be honest, if I had been single at the time, he and I probably would have gotten together.
Well, not only that, but I mean, we had a lot of the same things, same age.
It's kind of creepy.
Divorce.
Actually. Yeah.
She wasn't, and see, and that's the thing. When you go in an emotional affair, you're not looking for it. What you're looking for is what you're missing in your marriage. That's what you're looking for. You're going to look for that in somebody else.
Yeah.
You're not, something's not being satisfied, something's not being there. So you're going to look for it in somebody else. And, we're human. We're not robots. We've got feelings. We've got emotions. So, they're going to play a really big part.
Yeah.
So,
and the person that I kind of ended up connecting with, had a lot in common with Gary. So really, I kind of equated to like I was out there sort of inadvertently looking for Gary.
Looking for me. Yeah. Right.
So anyway, we, just because we worked together a lot and we worked together on a lot of projects because we shared a lot of the same students, so we just grew close. And then eventually that turned into growing too close. Now, I will say that the difference between like an emotional affair and like an all-out affair is that you haven't crossed that physical line. You cross some emotional lines by growing the attachment.
It absolutely doesn't, make either one good.
No, but it is a lot. I think you can.
It's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier to work through an emotional affair than it is once you cross that ultimate line. So
again, that also goes back to how I treated it. I'm telling you, the other person, you can either save your marriage or blow it out.
Okay, you're kind of jumping ahead though.
But anyways, so what's here?
So that's a little bit of our story, and long story short, like we had gotten too close, and Gary was actually, because Gary's been married before, and his first wife cheated on him, and she ended up having, or I guess we ended up having a lot of the same sort of warning signs leading up to what actually did cross a line in his first marriage. So he was trying to, this is where the maturity thing that he's talking about comes in. Like he was trying to warn me, like, you're doing exactly the same things that she did and that she used to tell me.
Yeah, but I didn't approach it like that though at first. I said, I told you, I remember coming to you and saying, look, I've got something I need to talk to you about, and I want to be completely open and honest. But
I understand. My point is just that you saw these things happening and I didn't.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that's the thing too. You're going to start seeing this thing, which goes into, I guess we could explain what an emotional affair is. Did you already do that?
Well, I kind of did, but I used our story, and then we can go on further if you want.
Yeah. So what's an emotional affair? Our story, and then, what's it look like? What's an emotional affair look like? It's a lot of phrasing and closeness, if that makes any sense. I forgot to put that in here, but and that's due to social.
We're going off of our notes.
Yeah, and that's due to social media, is what I'm thinking. But anyways, like the work husband or the home, the work wife or something like that.
Yeah, referring to that person, and I did that. I referred to him as my work husband.
That's that's the beginning and stepping forward. That's a step in the wrong direction is exactly what it is. And then what else is, I can barely read this.
Well, right now we're talking about what it looks like.
Oh,
so
looks like,
certain
right.
things like the way
So-
you refer to them,
Yeah.
you know, this is kind of warning signs too.
And yeah, and like the way that not so much referring to them, but you refer to each other, you know, saying things like, hey, do you know, we have a pretty cool relationship, you
Or
know,
special
you know,
relationship.
yes, it's a special relationship because there's no sexuality involved and stuff like that. Well, that's bullshit right there. That's exactly what it is. But you guys are trying to justify this kind of, he's in an emotional need and she's in an emotional need, and you're trying to justify your needs together. And again, that's 2 steps in the wrong direction. That's completely wrong. You know, like, now see, like, well, we wrote down, we're just friends. Okay, so that's a fiery subject. That's kind of a touchy subject. We're just friends has to be coupled with a lot of other things. You know, it can't just be, you know, them saying we're just friends and then that's the end. You know, we're just friends and you happen to notice also that they're spending more time together, or, you know, or something like that. But it runs with it. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't stand alone.
Right. I mean, basically it's, you know, like if you feel the need to have to defend or justify your relationship. Now, I'm not talking about in the cases of where, like, you know, you have a partner who is completely controlling and that's an unhealthy situation. This is talking about, like, you're in a quote unquote normal marriage and all of a sudden you're spending way too much time with this person.
You're in a healthy relationship. I mean, it doesn't matter. Marriage, you're in a healthy relationship.
No, I'm saying if the person is controlling, that's kind of borderline abusive. That's what I'm talking about.
Then
like,
you need to address that first.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we're getting all over the place.
Well, I know. Well, that does happen. But okay, so another thing is we'll go right back
into warning signs.
Yeah, the warning signs. You know, it's like that. Again, they're spending a lot of time together. They're referring to each other as having a special relationship because there's no pressure, and
you're very open. And you share a lot. That's the other thing too. Like, we confide in each other a lot.
I want to say a couple of things, but it might. No, I wouldn't without the name. If we just call him Jack. Okay, so you guys know we're on HMF Live, Hustle Muscle Fitness, right? So she's into fitness, okay? Jack's ex-wife was a bodybuilder, actually a professional, you know, like working bodybuilder, competition, that's what I was looking for, a competitive bodybuilder, which went a little over the top. She was like, you know, she wasn't she anymore. I saw some pictures and she was
she's still she just became, well, maybe was using steroids, but she became
that's what I'm talking
very
about.
Muscular, right? You know, much more masculine type of body.
Right. So this Jack, you know, he has a type, you know, and there is the lesser of the, you know, the not the bodybuilding and all this like that. It's fitness, but it's not in your face, you know, like I'm being taken away from, you know, the family all the time or whatever, you know. So, you know, there were correlations that kept going along. They're just, honestly, in this situation, the only reason why we're sharing it is because it happens so freaking scientifically that it actually is good to share this, because it's actually
almost could have been a checklist.
Yeah, it could have been a checklist. I'm going to blow my own horn. I've treated it.
You're jumping all over the place.
Okay, yeah.
This happens when we do shows together. Okay, so then a couple of other things, warning signs. So communicating with that person outside of, like, in this case, it was a work relationship, communicating with them outside of work hours about non-work related items. Now, that's not saying that we couldn't have been friends and remain platonic friends, but it would have been like, you know, group text and we're all making plans to go and do stuff and, you know, that sort of thing. This was more like a lot of one-on-one,
from group text to
one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
Spending unusual amounts of time with them.
And then messages that you don't want your spouse to see.
Yeah, if there's any messages that you don't want your partner to see, text or Facebook Messenger or any kind of DM or emails.
So here's a warning sign.
Email anymore, but.
Here's a warning sign that I forgot to put down here. Actually, since you said Facebook. Two of these things go together with the, where was that? Where do you see? Sorry. So like all of the arguments that you guys are having about your normal day life, you know, it's like that. All of those arguments start kind of slowing down. You're not having as many arguments with your spouse anymore. You know, it's starting to kind of, you know, like become okay, you know, in a sense.
So basically,
more okay with spending time apart.
Yeah, you become more okay with not spending. Like one of the things we used to argue about was our opposite work schedules and how he was always opposite of me. We could never make plans because he was always working on the weekend. That was the only time I had off. And then over time, because I was hanging out with Mike and other friends, Jack Moore.
Wow.
Sorry, see, what did I just say?
Yeah.
When I was hanging out with Jack Moore, anyway, so
when we caught it.
Well, no one watching. We'll see. Anyway, so started hanging out with him more, and so the time that we were spending, or the time that we weren't spending together, was being filled up by other people.
Right, and the thing is now that Facebook has been mentioned, the one thing you'll start noticing is like I said, your arguments will start to decrease. Your normal arguments, the ones that you've been fighting about for months and months and months, start letting up, you know, and things are a little bit nicer and so forth, you know, and don't worry about it, you know, it's okay, you know, or I'm sorry, or this or that. That's one of the warning signs. And then Facebook, social media in general for relationships is toxic as fuck. Okay. But when you start seeing inadvertently, because you are friends on Facebook, you get posts, you get all that other shit. Whenever she posts, you know, a video or a picture, I'm going to see it because it comes up on my feed or whatever. And you start noticing pictures of them and they're getting closer and closer and closer together. And now this could take weeks, months, but you'll start noticing. And now all of a sudden they're giggling. Oh, you know, their selfies, right? You know, that's, you know, another just horrible warning.
Right, I've never even taken selfies like that together.
Yeah, those are stupid. But what I'm saying though is that's one of the things that can, you know, that you can see. Your behavior will change. You know, now things are starting to be kind of ish okay. You know, and why did it all of a sudden kind of ish be okay? Because now you guys are, you know, the time that you are spending together, your sex will increase because the partner isn't getting the physical, they're getting the emotional, but now that the emotional is being fed, they can feed the physical at home. Now, at that crucial moment, that's where the you know, the tides turn, you know, is kind of in that particular area. You know, it's like when you start getting too close, you know, hanging out together too much, you know, when your husband's, you know, 500 miles away and hanging out at his house, you know, what? Oh, but there's other people here. I don't give a fuck. You know, we have problems. Why are you doing this? You know, oh, I don't see a problem in it. Then, you know, whatever. But that was much further into it. So again, I jumped ahead. So,
okay, so that's the warning sign. So really it comes down to, does that mean like if one of you has had an emotional affair, like is that the end of your marriage?
Not at all.
Not necessarily. No. Now, if it continues, it's a very good chance you're going to end up crossing that ultimate line. Now, luckily that never happened with us. And a lot of that is because of some of the things that Gary did. And so we're going to talk about, I know you want to toot your own horn.
No, I was going to say, damn it. What I was going to say is that it mirrors in a physically abusive relationship. You know, it mirrors that. Now you've made me lose my thought.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. So now we're going to move into tips for how to course correct your relationship with your actual spouse, not your work spouse.
Right. And no more work spouse. They're just people at work. Tips
for helping you kind of start to bridge the gap in your relationship. So I will let you take the first one. You can read it.
Oh, yeah. This is where the other person that's being the recipient, you know, my play and my part in the role, is, like she was having the emotional affair. My position is really touchy, very, very, there's a couple of different ways you can go with it. You can either just blow the fuck up and open their phone and show them in their face and say, what the fuck, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, once you've done that, it's over, it's done. You might as well sign your divorce papers the next day. Because if you're just going to continue that behavior, you don't want to be in the relationship. So take the fucking out, okay? I know that's harsh to hear, but do it. There's no reason for it. You're just torturing people. You're torturing yourself. Even if you got kids, we're staying together for the kids. Oh, fuck no, you're not staying together for the kids. You stay together for the kids, and the kids are going to grow up and become the Mendez kids. Don't do that. So anyways, it's all in how you approach it. And how I approached it, I can't believe I did it. I can't. I love this woman with all of my heart and all of my soul. She's the person that I'm supposed to be with until I close my eyes the final time. So, yeah, this is why I went through with what I went through. And I just went to her and said, look, I'm seeing some things I don't like. As your husband, I'm not trying to come in and be like, you can't do it, I'm just letting you know that I'm kind of noticing some things that I don't like. And it's part of our marriage. And if I don't like it, then, it's valid. I'm not trying to be, pushy or anything at all. I just, as calm as you can, just keep the communication and say, look, this is, one, I had prior experience. So a lot of people that have been cheated on will continue getting cheated on, until that cycle breaks with somebody, So I, unfortunately, because of my past, already had past experience. So I used my past experience and said, hey.
In a constructive way.
Right, in a constructive way. Like, hey, this is what I see. And before I even looked at her text, before I looked at anything, say, look, I just would like you to answer a couple questions. Do you guys have a special relationship? And her face changed. And I was like, oh no, you guys talk about, like, oh well, we have a work relationship, and, and it wasn't right. And then now I just lost my train of thought again. I did. My brain.
You asked me a few questions.
Oh yeah. The special relationship. My head is going 5 million miles an hour, and I'm trying to slow down.
Like I said, this is a very personal topic for us. But.
Yeah. And I'm also trying real hard to protect one's identity.
Even though I
not just say out the name. His name is Jack. But so I asked her, special relationship, and her face kind of changed. Like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you guys talk about how, there's no sex involved, so it doesn't, kind of bother anybody, and we're friends, and everybody knows it, and cha-cha-cha-cha, whatever. And she's like, well, kind of, yeah. All right. So has he worried about you? What do you mean? Has he worried about you? Has he called you and said, I haven't talked to you for a couple of days. I'm worried. Yeah. She went to her phone, and I swear the texts that came through were almost verbatim of what I said. Almost verbatim. And because I know, I've seen the signs. So now your job is done for now. You have to let them lead themselves to the right decision, because you don't want them to resent this whole thing. And you are on the thinnest of ice the whole way. I only lost my shit once, and I think I was entitled to it the one time. And I got a really vocally and verbally and wonderfully worded, gut punch to the person. But I didn't, no physicality. I'm not that kind of guy. But anyways, thank you.
Okay, so the first thing is to approach the situation with maturity and stay mature. That's what all of that in a nutshell is.
Please stay mature. If you stay mature, it'll work.
The other thing is this is for the affairer, so that would have been me, stop referring to them as a work spouse. I wish somebody would have called me out on it then. Like, I mean, I know Gary did in a certain way, but I was also sort of in denial. Like, no, our relationship isn't like that. Like,
well, we're
just friends.
Yeah.
And so stop referring to them as the work spouse. They are your colleague, and they may be a friend, but they are a colleague. That is it. Your spouse is the one who's at home, is the one that you go to bed with every night. That is your spouse. That is the only spouse that you have. Stop calling them your work husband or work wife or whatever. Maintain professional lines with your interactions with them. I mean, this is in the case of being colleagues anyway. But, even if they are a friend or another family member, like maintain whatever that relationship is, maintain that. Don't cross over into the sort of marital relationship space, because that's not who you're married to.
Don't pretend house.
Right.
That's simple. Don't pretend house. Be friends, but don't pretend house.
Yeah. While you are...
Damn, we get that shirt. Don't pretend house. Fix your relationship with Gary and Tanya.
While you are trying to fix things with your significant other, maybe either don't get on or limit your use of social media. Don't get on there and blast all of your crap. Now, Gary and I are talking about this now, years later, after we've resolved this particular issue. I feel like we've gotten closure on this particular issue.
To tell you honestly, we just recently,
it was like June
to figure out what was actually wrong. I've also been in therapy.
I started.
I've been in therapy now since January. Yeah. And
this is October 2017. And watch this later.
And I'm on Zoloft now. I'm on 100 milligrams of Zoloft every day. So there was a huge chunk of that was me. You know what I mean? So I have to take responsibility for my shit, I mean, and I did. So I went to counseling and found out a whole lot of shit that I didn't want to fucking hear, and a whole lot of shit I didn't want to talk about. I'm like into like 30 sessions now. I mean, we're deep in this fucking cranium, and you're open Pandora's box.
All right, that's a different show.
Keep it shut.
But anyways, okay. But anyway, so back to it. Like, keep your crap off of social media. I see people going on talking about, this baby daddy this and this bitch that and this da 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 da. Like, no, if you really want to have a healthy relationship, take care of your crap at home. Work it out.
Keep your mouth shut.
Work it out with one another. And if you notice, like, even with this show, I don't come on here and talk about any topics that we haven't already talked about or worked through, or if it involves him, I don't talk about anything until I basically have his okay to share certain parts that involve him. If it's just me and I'm ready to share it, I'll freaking share it.
Right.
But,
there's not much I won't share, so.
Right. Yeah. So
actually, there's nothing I won't share, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I just told him I'm on Zoloft. I'm
I think that's okay. I mean, it needs to.
And I'm going to tell you,
anyway.
I'm going to tell you guys that if you have guys, this is I'm in a rabbit trail here. I would like for you, ladies out there, have your husbands watch, if they watch any part of this at all, have them watch this segment right here.
35.
Yeah, at 28:35, that's when you want to start watching. Okay, guys? Because listen. If you have a problem with anger, which I know 96% of you do, that's just the way testosterone works. It's the way guys are. We get pissed, whatever it may take. Now, I'm not talking to everybody and all men. I'm just talking to those few select men, because you're going to hear me. And Zoloft did not change me. It just ripped all the shit off of me. All of the shit that you had to deal with because you're a Gen Xer and you're just like me. I know. Fuck, I'm there. I mean, you got a lot of shit going on in here. Pull it away so you can look at it. And that's what Zoloft did. It didn't change me. It didn't turn me into a zombie and nothing. It just let me breathe. It let me be me. And then also with the counseling, if nothing else, if you don't even go on some mood stabilizers, there's nothing wrong with counseling.
And only go on to mood stabilizers if you're working with a professional.
Right. But the other thing too is there's no shame in counseling. There's no shame in it. None. Zero. You know what that shows? It shows strength and change. Humans don't like change. So why would you force yourself into change? Because you're strong. And that's why. So therapy is showing strength.
And that was one of the tips. He jumped ahead. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that one right now. Get yourselves into marriage or couples counseling, and then each of you needs to also do your own individual counseling. Because obviously if an emotional affair took place, there are emotional needs, maybe even physical needs, some sort of, the cat's trying to get in, some sort of physical or emotional intimacy, something is not happening, and there's a reason for it. So
there's a hole in your relationship.
Doing the couples and doing the individual will help you both work on yourself and your relationship at the same time. That's basically what Gary and I have been doing for the last 10 months. And this time last year, August, a year, I wasn't even sure that we were going to make it to this point.
Yeah.
We were on the brink of divorce last year. So it's worth investing in yourselves, and it's worth investing in your relationship through counseling, having an outside perspective. And
if you go into counseling and you find out that's not what, this person, you're not, you both go into marriage counseling and you truly, honestly, 100,000%, beyond any kind of reasonable doubt that you guys are not supposed to be together, then don't spend the last few years you got on this planet arguing with the person. Be friends with them, because you were friends with them before. You might as well just go and say, okay, we can't do this. We're not good at marriage. We're good parents, but we're not good married. We're not, we're a good team when it comes to parenting, but we're not a good team for each other.
If you have kids, we don't have kids.
We don't have children, so there's a slight difference there, Not having kids will change your life.
Okay, a few more tips so we can wrap this up. So for the person who may be in the emotional affair or at risk of being emotionally attached to somebody else, first thing is you need to kind of do an evaluation on yourself, why you're feeling the need to, not that you're looking, but that your
Where's
heart,
the hole?
Your heart is kind of looking for something. And so you need to do a self-evaluation of what it is that what or why you're looking. And then from that point, you need to express your emotional needs with your partner to tell them, this is what's going on. Oh, there's something floating. This is what's going on. And these are the things that I'm needing and I'm feeling like I'm not getting. Now, had I done that with Gary, would have been a completely different story. But at the same time, because of some of the things that he was going through personally, I don't know that he would have heard them. I mean, that'll be a question that we never know, because that's not how the story went. But I can tell you, having gone through that myself, if I would have taken time to really, say and admit, like, yes, I'm emotionally attached to another man that I am not married to, and that's not right. And now I need to figure out why and what is it that I need from my actual husband.
Right.
So that's kind of it. So if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to, you can comment on this video. But if it's more personal, feel free to send me a message through this page. It's mostly me that checks the messages. But if you do have, even you want to ask for a guy's opinion.
Oh yeah, I'll be here.
He also helps he's my backup on the page, so he will also respond. Just say, hey, this message is for Gary, and we'll get back to you. So
I'm not by any means a licensed therapist or anything. So
no, we're just sharing.
Yeah, we're just sharing
from our experiences.
This is 100% allegoric. It's no, this is just experience. It's not any kind of professional.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So, all right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that, is there anything else you want to add before I wrap it up?
Approach your spouse before you get tempted to look on Facebook for cheating.
It's not just social media.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is so many people are stuck on social media. I'm serious. That's what it is every day.
In my case, he wasn't even on social media.
No, I understand that, but a lot of these people are, and what I'm saying is don't go looking, because you'll find it, and it's not there. Don't go looking on Facebook, because you're going to interpret everything, Now, if you do go on Facebook and you start to notice the whole, closer and closer, but if they never do that.
About the spouse.
Yeah, the spouse, do go to your spouse first. Do not use Facebook as a,
to talk shit.
Yeah, exactly. You're not talking shit. You want to go through this maturely, and if you do, You'll have a better marriage when you're done. And then also too, one of the bigger turning points was for me, you know, going back to the whole working on yourself and stuff like that, was when I looked at her and said to her, why would you let anybody in their fucking right mind why would you let somebody treat you like this? Would you let anybody else in the world treat you the way I've done? She's like, no. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Why are you with me then? Does it make sense? You know, you guys, you go through that, you know, I know we do. So it's like, she's with you because she loves you, you know, or he's with you because he loves you, or she's with you because she loves you, you know, doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, you know, don't go looking because you'll find it. You will. Yeah. You know,
and
you'll find it.
You know, really plug back into your relationship.
Yes.
The last thought I want to leave you with is really plug back into your relationship, because, I mean, we are, you know, kind of a testament that if you want to put the work in, you can start to bridge those gaps. And you can start to rebuild. Yeah.
It's a marathon. I mean, it's not a sprint.
We're past the emotional affair and we've had closure on that, but now we are in the process of continuing to close that gap, because that wasn't the only thing that was kind of dividing us,
right?
You know, but we're still in the process of, you know, reconnecting and finding all of there's different levels of intimacy, not just physical. Right. And so we're working on, you know, reconnecting in a lot of those areas. So, but we are still working at it. You know, we're married now 13 and a half years, right? Almost 13 and a half, well, 13, just past 13. You know, it's always a work in progress. People who are at 20, 40, 50 years.
Well, we'll be together 15 years, yeah. Super Bowl weekend.
Well, February. We met Super Bowl weekend.
Oh.
But anyway, so I want to leave you with that thought. You know, take the time to invest invest into your relationship, to invest in the work. Anything that's worth having is worth doing the work. So that's where we're at, and you know, we're continuing in that process, and we want to encourage you to do the same. So if you have questions, comment below, send us a message. We are here to help however we can, or if you just need someone to talk to, we're here. At least I'm here for that. Gary will be if you ask for him. So thanks for watching. I know that these relationship ones are always a little longer.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hanging in there with us. And if this was valuable, share this video, you know, or tag someone, tag your spouse, tag whoever you think might need to hear it. Or if you don't want to call them out, just share it. Right. Send someone the link. So, all right, guys, have a great night. And I'll see you next week for HMF Live. And then, of course, just every day on this page. So, bye.
Bye.